The Boy Who Lost His Face by Louis Sachar, 12. Miss Williams wasn't paying attention to anything Mr. McFarland was saying. She was drawing a picture. David couldn't see what she was drawing, but it must have been funny because every once in a while she would stop, look at what she'd done, and smirk. Whenever Mr. McFarland looked at her, her head would instantly straighten up and she would look directly back at him. But as soon as he turned away, she would smirk and go on drawing. David anxiously looked at the clock. He knew exactly what he wanted to say to her. He just hoped he had the nerve to say it. The bell rang. David remained in his seat while Miss Williams put her drawing in her folder. He waited for her to stand. Then he stood up and started walking so they both reached the door at the same time. "Good morning, Miss Williams," he said without looking at her. "And good morning to you, Mr. Ballinger," she replied. Larry was waiting at David's locker. "I got him," he said, tapping his jacket pocket. He looked like a drug dealer with his blue sunglasses and uncombed hair. David looked around to make sure no one was watching. They walked around to the side of the building. Larry had 11 photographs of naked girls. "I thought I had 12, he said. "I don't know what happened to the other one." "That's okay," said David. He glanced over his shoulder to make sure no one was around, then took the pictures from Larry. The pictures were a little out of focus since they were taken by a 9-year-old kid in a moving automobile, but he could definitely tell they were pictures of naked girls. Most of the girls were pretty young, probably under 7 years old, but there were a couple of girls who were at least 14 or 15. Besides the naked girls, David could also see the conditions around them, the dirt and garbage and broken down tar paper houses. He felt disgusted with himself. These poor people couldn't afford clothes, and here he was getting his kicks by looking at them. Still, he kept looking. There was a picture of a girl about 9 years old playing with a little black and white dog. The girl had long, stringy hair and was dirty from head to toe, but she had the happiest face he had ever seen. She looked like she was just laughing her head off. "I guess she's about our age now, huh?" David asked. "Yeah, I guess so," said Larry. "I wonder what her name is," said David. "Carmelita," said Larry. "You know her?" "No, that's just the name I made up for her. She looks like a Carmelita." David nodded. "I wonder what she's doing now," he said. "Do they go to school?" "I don't know," said Larry. "Some do, some don't." They both stared at the picture. "I hope she's still happy," said Larry. "Yeah, me too," said David, although it hardly seemed possible. How could she still be happy living in all that poverty? "They don't eat dogs, do they?" he asked. "I don't think so," said Larry. "She probably still has the dog." "Then maybe she's still happy," said David. All his own problems suddenly seemed pretty insignificant to him. All his own problems suddenly seemed petty and insignificant to him, especially his so-called curse. "Sometimes I wish I could go back to Venezuela and find her," said Larry. "Maybe give her some money." "Wouldn't that be great?" said David. "Or maybe even bring her here to America. She could live at one of our houses and go to school with us. I wonder if she'd be allowed to keep her dog." "I wouldn't even know how to find her," said Larry. He took the stack of pictures from David. "You want these?" he asked abruptly. David shook his head. Larry threw them in a trash bin, all except Carmelita, which he put back in his jacket pocket. And that's the end of chapter 12.